Welcome into the weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes here on this fine Friday afternoon, and we'll be with you here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports. I'm not sure if we're from preps. Yeah, from preps to pros, because we got the rundown coming up here pretty soon. Yes. From preps to pros, we've got you covered as we get you ready for the weekend, a full weekend, going from high school to collegiate to professional athletics in a number of different arenas. So stick around. It's going to be fun. We're looking forward to it and looking forward to the weekend. Wade, I'm sure you are.
Very pumped. Looking forward to a big show today. You're right. We will go from preps to pros. Shout out to the preps. Shout out to the college folks. Shout out to the pros. We'll give you guys a little taste of it all over the next couple hours.
Looking forward to doing so. Again, here in the 3 o'clock hour, we will be joined by Ben McKee from Go Vols 24/7, because I think there's a pretty big game up in Knoxville this weekend. Actually taking place on the third Saturday of October. It doesn't always, but it is this year, as Alabama visits Neyland Stadium for a matchup between the number 7 visiting Crimson Tide and the number 11 Volunteers. So Ben will give us the lowdown on that. In the next segment, we will visit with the queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA M. Walker of the Associated Press, as we catch up on the Titans heading into their trip to Buffalo this weekend. That should be fun. Yeah. Anyway, we'll also talk a little Major League Baseball. The playoffs continue. And man, yesterday was wild in the American League in particular. Less wild on the National League side, but we'll talk about all of that and what yesterday's action sets up today. We will talk a little bit more NFL, as we had Thursday night football last night and a lot to spin out of that. Also, the WNBA continues its championship series tonight. This could be it, actually. And in the final segment, Wade and I will try our hand at picking the winners against the spread of 10 of this weekend's college football games. So stick around for that, and then pick whoever we don't pick.
Pretty much a good rule of thumb. You're right.
Now, I say that. I had a pretty good weekend last weekend, to be honest. I kind of surprised myself. Now, whether I can continue that for another week is anybody's guess, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, looking forward to that. I've not even seen the Wonder Slate yet, but I'm sure it will be challenging, as it typically is when Mr. Neely gets that together. So,
yeah, a lot of big games. You know, last week was the first biggest week of the college football season. This week is the new biggest week. And,
the next biggest week, huh?
Including Georgia, who is an underdog for the first time since 2021. Got to go back 49 games before the Georgia Bulldogs. And that line has moved in favor of Texas since we made the Wonder Slate. So the good news is we already had it locked in, so we get a better number.
Moved in favor of Texas. Goodness.
Yeah, Texas up to 5 now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, first time since 2021, the Bulldogs, 49 games in a row, they'd been favored until this week.
It makes sense. Really, the way they played over the last 3 years. So yeah, and it makes sense that they're an underdog this week as well. But yeah, we'll talk more about that in the final segment of the show. So that's what we're looking like here over the next couple of hours, and we should probably go ahead and get into it with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Hop on into a Friday rundown, but before we get to it, I want to remind you that the Friday rundown is brought to you by Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates. The Blue Raider voice also wants to be your trusted advisor in real estate. So contact Chip at 615-542-1915 or visit his website at choosechip.net. That's Chip Walters, proud to support youth sports across Middle Tennessee.
High school football action from last night, Big Region 4-3A matchup as Watertown outlasted Grundy County 45-44. Wade, are you surprised? You know a little bit about both those teams. You surprised at that score?
Yes, is the easiest way to say it. I'm surprised. I give Grundy County a lot of props because Watertown on paper should have rolled in that game based on the eye test. But Grundy County made it a close game, and two potent offenses, two young ball teams as well.
Absolutely. Volleyball action from yesterday. Blackman swept Cleveland 3-0. Brentwood did likewise to Station Camp 3-0. It was Summertown in 5 sets down in Camden Central 3-2. Collierville with a 3-0 win over Clarksville. Creekwood defeated Hume Fogg 3-0. East Hamilton down Riverdale 3-0. It was East Robertson 3, Eagleville 1. Nolensville with a 3-2 win over Green Hill. Houston down Rossview, 3-0. Loretta with a 3-0 win over Harpeth, and it was Valor Collegiate 3, Lexington 0.
Some good wins there. A couple for our area teams. Means you'll probably see me in the borough next week for a couple couple showdowns as Loretto and Summertown both advance to the state tournament. Girls soccer action. Similar script here. A lot of tight games in pivotal moments as Hendersonville defeats Gallatin 3-2. Merrill Hyde, however, with a 9-0 victory versus Lead Academy. Similar score for Liberty Creek, 9-0 versus Smith County. Franklin outlasting Page 1-0. Great ball game there. It was Rossview with a similar score, 1-0 versus Clarksville. Siegel picked up a 1-0 region win versus Oakland. And then it was Fairview 5, Sycamore 0. Station Camp with a 3-1 victory over Valor Collegiate. And Westview blank Cheatham County 3-0 was your score there. In Major League Baseball, we teased this in the open. The Guardians with a wild comeback and a wild extra innings victory, 7-5 to keep hope alive in the American League Series. That was game number 3. They'll get ready for game 4 coming up later this evening. Speaking of game 4 went in favor in a big way in favor of the Dodgers, 10-2. LA now with a 3-1 lead on the Mets in the NLCS. We had Predators hockey last night, and the Preds are struggling. Our buddy Russell Venozzi tells us the Preds are off to their worst start since 02-03, as he reported from the game last night, as they do fall to the visiting Edmonton Oilers 4-2. Thursday night football, man, it was a classic Thursday night football game. Every single part of it was ugly. These are the ones you live for, and you wonder why in the heck you ended up watching it, but it was Denver scoring a lot, New Orleans scoring very little. 33-10 was your final in that one.
We're going to get to the high school football schedule for tonight in just a minute, but did you script 7-5 to keep hope alive? Or did you just...
That's off the dome, baby.
That's off the dome.
Keep in mind, I got a broadcast tonight, so I'm getting revved up here.
Okay, you're already in mid-game form. High school football tonight, we talked to Riverdale coach Will Kreisky yesterday on Coach's Corner. If you missed it, go back and check it out. The Warriors travel across Highway 96 to take on the Blackman Blaze. 7 o'clock kickoff on that one, as it is for all of these. Centennial travels to Brentwood. Oakland goes down to Manchester, taking on Coffee County Central. Columbia Central hosting Franklin County. Giles County going out to Unionville, taking on the Vikings of Community. It's Station Camp at Creekwood. Kenwood traveling to Dixon County. Eagleville hosting Loretto. Cane Ridge is at East Nashville. Fairview hosting Independence tonight. McCallie comes up to Father Ryan for a 7 o'clock kick. This is a 7:30 kickoff as Grace Baptist of Chattanooga visits Franklin Christian. Resuming 7 o'clock kicks, Wilson Central is at Gallatin. Mount Juliet Christian goes to Glencliff. Green Hill visits Laverne. Lebanon hosting Mount Juliet. Knoxville Catholic coming in to take on Lipscomb Academy at 7. Stratford is at Maplewood. The Kings Academy is at Middle Tennessee Christian, and East Hickman is at Mount Pleasant.
Fayetteville hitting the road tonight for a showdown versus Nashville Christian. It'll be Lawson this evening at Nolensville. Hillsboro is at Page tonight. Pearl Cone will welcome Greenbrier to town. Pope John Paul II is also going to welcome Rockvale to their neck of the woods. It'll be Portland hosting Hendersonville this evening. Franklin is on the road at Ravenwood. Big non-region matchup as Richland will host Summertown this evening in Linville. Should be a fun one there. Lawrence County is on the road at Shelbyville in a big region matchup to maybe keep the season in terms of playoffs alive for Lawrence County. Beach on the road tonight at Siegel. It'll be Hunters Lane at Springfield. White House Heritage is visiting Stewart County. Stewart's Creek will play host to Smyrna. Summit is hosting John Overton tonight. It'll be White House at Upperman. Good Pasture is on the road at Webb School. Smith County hits the road for a trip to Westmoreland. Friendship Christian at York Institute. And capping our football schedule tonight will be Lewis County taking on Zion Christian. Girls soccer action. Sectionals get underway on Saturday, and they start at 11 a.m. Chattanooga Christian visiting Harpeth Hall. At 12:30, Father Ryan is on the road at Lipscomb Academy. 1:30 kickoff now, Lausanne at Franklin Road Academy. 2 p.m. we'll see Smith County traveling to Merrill Hyde. A 5 o'clock start time as Gallatin visits Franklin. Walker Valley is at Siegel beginning at 7. The rest of these games, we do not have start times listed, so check your local listings. Evangelical Christian will be at BGA. Cheatham County is visiting Cascade. Valor Collegiate taking on Fairview in Fairview. It'll be Page at Hendersonville. Clarksville will travel to Houston. Lead Academy will be at Liberty Creek. Oakland is visiting Ray County. Collierville hits the road for a trip to Rossview. University School of Nashville taking on St. George's. And capping your girls' soccer schedule for Saturday will be Sycamore, who's at Station Camp.
Major League Baseball action as the playoffs continue. National League Championship Series. Game 5. The Dodgers are at the Mets. That's a 4:08 first pitch. You can see it on Fox Sports 1. At 7:08 tonight on TBS, you've got the New York Yankees at the Cleveland Guardians. That is Game 4. On Saturday, the Yankees and the Guardians will play at 7:08. You can see it on TBS. That will be Game 5. And on Sunday, you will have Game 6 of the NLCS if necessary. The Mets go back out to the West Coast taking on the Dodgers. That's a 7:08 first pitch again on FS1, again, if necessary, because the Dodgers can conceivably take care of business this evening. NBA preseason action tonight. Miami visits FedEx Forum taking on the Grizzlies. That's a 7 o'clock tip. You can see it on NBA TV and on Bally Sports. WNBA, the finals, Game 4 tonight. The Liberty is at the Lynx. That's a 7 o'clock tip. It's on ESPN. The Liberty can close that one out. If not, you get a decisive Game 5 on Sunday at 7 o'clock on ESPN. College football action this weekend of local interest. Georgetown College, that's Georgetown, Kentucky, visits Cumberland. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff. You can hear it on WANT FM. At 2:30 on ABC, we mentioned third Saturday in October, number 7 Alabama travels to number 11 Tennessee. Again, that's a 2:30 kickoff, and it's on ABC. Also at 2:30 on ESPN Plus, Tennessee State is at Howard. At 3 o'clock on ESPN Plus, Austin Peay travels out to Utah Tech. I'm surprised Wade doesn't have his hoodie on today.
Go Trailblazers.
There we go. And at 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus, Ball State comes to the red-hot Vanderbilt Commodores at First Bank Stadium. Saturday night hockey at Bridgestone Arena. The Detroit Red Wings visit against the not-so-hot Nashville Predators. Saturday, also, Major League Soccer regular season finale for the Nashville Soccer Club as they travel to the Chicago Fire. That's a 5 o'clock first touch. You can see it on Apple TV. Sunday, 12 noon, CBS, Tennessee Titans at Buffalo Bills. We'll be talking here soon with Teresa M. Walker regarding that game and other Titans news. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items, as well as their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And we don't talk a whole lot of NBA preseason action unless it's typically the Grizzlies, but this bears mentioning because former UT standout Dalton Knecht scored 20 straight points last night, finished with a game-high 35 as the LA Lakers downed host Phoenix in overtime, 128-122. And if you watched UT last year with any regularity, you probably saw a game like this from Dalton Connect. 8 of 13 from behind the arc, 10 of 18 overall. Again, scored 20 points in a row. And I wish I had been watching, because this sounds like it was vintage Connect.
Yeah, when the Lakers draft him, 17th overall, this is kind of what they were hoping, right? As you get a scorer off the bench who could basically, when he's on, be a starter or starter caliber, but you have him resting there on the pine. Yeah, 8 of 13. He was a flamethrower from downtown. It was kind of exactly what you had hoped to get out of Dalton Connect, who had struggled in Summer League. And so the fact that he's heating up right now, I'd rather have him hot right now getting into the few days before the regular season starting than in Summer League. So kudos to him, props to him, and good win for the Lakers. Had to go to overtime, but they do get a win versus the Suns.
Yeah, big time win for the Lakers. I think they close out the preseason either tonight or tomorrow night against the Warriors. But this is a nice game for Connect this close to the start of the regular season. And I saw some of the highlights, and you could have easily switched out the gold Lakers uniform for the orange UT uniform, because a lot of it just looked like something that you had seen at some point in the previous years. So nice to see him knocking down shots like that, and coming off the dribble, coming off the catch, off balance. And when he gets in that zone, man, get him the ball and get out the way. And he really kind of showed that last night. Something for the new coach to consider going forward, I think. So it's got to bode well for the youngster out there.
Big effort from him, but you did bury the lead, Mo. Bronny James had 4 points last night. You got to mention that anytime you bring up the Lakers. So Davis had 35, but Bronny had his 4. He had 4 points and no assists.
Well, Bronny had 4, but he could have had 6 if KD hadn't blocked one of his shots in transition.
That will happen.
Yeah, that will happen. And, somebody pointed out that KD blocking a Bronny shot was something that they did not expect to see. They posted that somewhere on social media, and Durant responded with, "Damn, I'm old." Yeah, Bronny with 4. So Bronny James and Dalton Connect combined for 39 points last night. Is that better?
Now you're talking.
There we go. My bad.
Yeah, it's you have to mention that at any point the Lakers have brought up this season. But real quick, another shout out. Max Christie is a guy that they're high on too. Between him and Connect, the Lakers, they're not going to be great yet again. They're kind of going to toil around that 7 to 11 range, I think. Mm-hmm. But Connect gives you a little shot in the arm offensively, which at times they kind of sorely needed. So that will be entertaining to watch this year.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we will be joined by the Queen of Tennessee Sports Media, TERESA M. Walker of the Associated Press, talking Little Titans. Stay tuned after the break. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
Weekend Update continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That is Wade Neely. I am Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and we are pleased to be joined from her home by the queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA M. Walker of the Associated Press, as we contemplate the 1-4 Titans heading north to take on the 4-2 Buffalo Bills in a 12 noon Central Time kickoff that can be seen on CBS Sports. And, you know, if these first 5 games are any indication, I feel like there will probably be fewer people watching by the end of that game in the Nashville market than there will be at the beginning, TERESA.
Well, the odds are good of that. I mean, we've just gotten the injury report. 4 people are out. Traylon Burks is out for this game. And he apparently hurt his knee yesterday or this week in practice. And, we were looking for him yesterday, didn't see him. And that's going to be the interesting thing is, right now this team, it's like, who can they trade for what? And apparently, there was a Bleacher Report that Sebastian Joseph Day is not here with the team anymore. And I'm like, I literally talked to him Wednesday. But yeah, things.
Okay, but.
Well, that was Wednesday, so stay tuned. That's the challenge. This is a franchise that spent so much money and a lot of draft capital. I mean, think about it. On last Sunday, they did not allow a sack. It was the first time in 33 games that they had not allowed a sack. Now, a bright spot, nobody that has started on the offensive line this season for the Titans is 26 or older. So that's an area for a team that is one of the older team rosters in the NFL. That is an area for growth and youth. Will Levis is surprisingly questionable, limited today on the injury report. So that's another interesting thing. DeAndre Hopkins is, with this flurry of wide receiver trades, DeAndre Hopkins is suddenly in the mix, and he told a couple of reporters yesterday that, he's happy where he's at, and, essentially kind of left it up to the Lord, it sounded like. So, good job by him. But, that's the thing. for a team that spent so much money, so much draft capital to be 1-6, the biggest, and the thing is, it's not the defense. The defense is first in total yards allowed, first in passing yards, which will be seriously tested Sunday by some guy named Josh Allen, who has not been picked yet this year. He could join very elusive company and become just the third quarterback to go, throw something like at least double-digit touchdowns with no interceptions over the first 7 games of the season. It's, one of those kind of things, but rare company indeed. And he just got a new toy in Amari Cooper this week. So, and L'Jarius Sneed is questionable. I asked Nick Cole, Brian Callahan, we've grilled this week. What's going on with the offense? Why are they not clicking? Because and again, I keep saying, I got to quit saying it can't get worse because they keep finding a way to go deeper. And they have. This passing offense is 31st right now after, 6 weeks, 6 games. And the last 2 years, I think it was 29th last year and 30th the year before. So apparently, there's still always 32 out there. So I'm going to quit saying that. But, part of it has been growing process. Brian Callahan's a first-time play caller. Will Levis, new system. Well, I asked the offensive coordinator yesterday, Nick Holtz, what is the issue here? Is it execution at this point? And he kind of said yes. And they watched on Monday as a group offensively the tape of all the passes. And it's like, what went wrong? Should the ball have gone, did the ball go to the right guy? Who missed this block? So that they could all see what was going on and what was going wrong for this group. And, they made a change at right tackle. Leroy Watson got his first NFL start. He's the guy that they traded for from Cleveland in April to bring him down because Bill Callahan knows him. And he, guess what? He was part of a group that did not give up a sack. He also was flagged 3 times, 2 false starts and a hold. And the Titans had a season-high 11 penalties for 113 yards. And in a game where they didn't crack 100 yards passing. So there's to say that there's meat on the bone, there's a whole cow out there.
0 sacks, but 11 penalties. I guess you got to give something to get something, right?
Yeah, and now some of those, there were a lot of defensive penalties, okay? I mean, Monty Hooker had a ball thrown straight to him, and he caught it for the first interception by this group. And let's not forget, one of the things, as good as this defense has looked, they were last in the NFL last year with 6 interceptions. Getting their hands on more balls was a focus for this defense this year. And they could have had a second one. Jarvis Brownlee, the rookie, who is filling in, and maybe Wally Pipping Cheeto Awuzie is, he got his hands on a pick. It got erased because he was flagged for illegal contact by a crew that missed at least one obvious pass interference on DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, when I'm agreeing with Gene Steratore, DeAndre Hopkins retweeted Gene Steratore's take saying that, yes, it was physical, it was early, it was obvious, should have been flagged, wasn't. So there were some, I saw at least 2 other DPIs, legal contacts, holds, whatever you want to call them, on the Colts defense that didn't get flagged. So, and I know that I wasn't the only one. I heard Titan fans that stuck around booing heavily. And Brian Callahan was making his feelings very well known with the officials in that game. I mean, he challenged one, didn't win it, but he tried. But this franchise is staring 1-6 very much straight in the face unless they take a big step forward on Sunday.
Yeah, and Teresa, I'm curious, with the way the season has played out for the Titans, the injuries for both teams, really, as I'm pulling up the Bills injury report as well. Is there any way this is not a really, really ugly game in your mind, win or lose for either team on Sunday?
Well, when the Bills played the Jets on Monday night, and that's the one thing that's possibly in the Titans' favor, is the Bills literally played Monday night. Now, granted, it was a road game in the state of New York, so it wasn't exactly, hauling across country. It was just across state. But, so that's one thing you've got in your favor. And Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers, that was That was a ugly game, man. It was ugly. I mean, it was terrible. I just kept up with it on social media because I wasn't going to subject myself to that. Plus, I needed a break from ugly football. I watched a lot of it on Sunday. So, yes, folks, I do take breaks, but it absolutely could be an ugly one. And that's the thing. If the Titans can cut out the penalties, produce some on offense, but the fact of the matter is, when Will Levis has started this season, they have not scored more than 17 points in any single game that he finished. The game that he started in Miami and didn't get out of the first quarter because of the shoulder injury that has him now questionable. Mason Rudolph came in, and that's the game where Nick Folk kicked a bunch of points, was the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Now, the advantage is it's going to be very gusty on Sunday. Nick Folk has kicked a lot of balls in that stadium from his time with the Patriots. So if it becomes an ugly, tight, close game, just score some points in the fourth quarter. Let's start there. Let's see if they can score 12 points through 6 games in the fourth quarter. It's almost a little ridiculous. They were bad at that again last year. 64 points through a 17-game season. They are averaging nearly a point less per game in the fourth quarter this season. I use my calculator.
You bust out the calc on that one. I'm also curious, speaking of crunching numbers, Josh Allen is a guy that we've seen, and it's fascinating that they're playing the Titans this week because it feels like Will Levis was drafted maybe to become like a Josh Allen caliber quarterback. And we've seen Allen with horrible interceptions over the course of his career. He's obviously made some fantastic plays. Can you chalk anything up to the fact that he has yet to throw one this year, or is he just kind of scooting by, or what can we take, if anything, away from that?
Well, maybe he's due. Is the thing. The one cliche that we hear all the time is they come in bunches, and maybe this is where the Titans defense and Josh Allen both combine to break through, but it might also be the maturation of a quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of people that have said that Will Levis reminds them a little bit of Josh Allen. The Bills let Josh Allen grow and play, make mistakes, and develop as a quarterback on the field, and they took their lumps in the first couple of seasons, and even through last year, and they've won with him making mistakes and then finding ways to make big plays. And that's the thing, how much of this is trying to fit Will Levis into this system that seems to reward taking checkdowns. And Will Levis said it on Wednesday, that's the thing that he's kind of feels has been missing is, connecting on deep shots. He's had one true deep pass. That was the 40-yard touchdown to Calvin Ridley in week 2 that, we all thought was an interception, and Calvin Ridley still managed to come up with that ball. So, and guess what? Talking about Calvin Ridley, that's a guy that they did try to go to on the second play of the game Sunday. Calvin Ridley, talked post game. It was described as an irate tirade. No, he used a few expletives, but there were many expletives used in that locker room on Sunday. Nobody is happy being at 1-4, staring 1-6 potentially in the face. And that's the thing. This is a team that thought they were going to be better. Money, draft capital, you name it. They thought they were going to be better. And that's the thing that's disappointing, and trying to figure out, that you start moving deck chairs around, it's like, you ever play Battleship? Sometimes you're trying to sink the battleship and you're just moving pieces all over the board, and you can't find anything because you're moving everything.
TERESA Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. TERESA, there's an article on CBSSports.com that kind of has some thoughts from CBS analyst Tiki Barber. Barber is the color analyst for Sunday's game between the Titans and the Bills. And Tiki is kind of questioning whether some of Will Levis's issues are coach related, for lack of a better phrase. Says that they're not pushing the ball up the field, not taking advantage of, obviously, one of Levis's strengths. And again, 7 picks, leads the league. His 70.7 passer rating is the worst among qualifying quarterbacks, but we saw it in this last game against Indianapolis. They didn't take a whole lot of shots. You just mentioned they took one early to Ridley, but they're throwing the ball short and out and not, up and out. And is that part of the issue? Now let me hang on a minute, but let me follow that up. If that is the issue, is some of that related to the offensive line and maybe a lack of trust in them being able to protect long enough to get a pattern developed downfield?
Ding, 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 ding. I think it's two things. Part pass protection. I mean, this game Sunday stood out. Why? Well, the last home game, he was sacked 8 times. He had been among the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL and through much of the first month. How do you, when you're, the meme that is Will Levis, some of this stuff he was getting into trouble throwing some picks because he was trying to make something happen because guys were breathing down his neck. And then there's another point. Now, granted, I missed a big chunk of preseason, but when I got back, it's not like Will Levis and Calvin Ridley, who spent a lot of time this offseason trying to get on the same page together, they're still not connecting. That's the thing. They've worked and the people who were here throughout camp say they saw him, and thought that would come along at some point. That's not come along. Well, they were going against the defense that now we see, at least through this point of the season, is tough against the pass. How much of that was affecting their rhythm? And now they're going against other defenses, and they still can't get on the same page. So, I think it's all kind of tying together. And now you've got a quarterback whose throwing arm is, he's wearing the tape when he's practicing out there. He says he had a worse AC sprain in the left. And guys, last week when he kind of showed that off and pulled part of the shirt back so we could see the bone kind of go up, it's like, okay, I didn't need to see that. And he said, yeah, this right side's not nearly that bad, but that's the thing. And the pick that happened last week, he was trying to go to Ridley, and Julian Blackmon's playing center field and just comes over and says, I'll take that. And Levis said after, if his shoulder had been a little healthier, maybe he gets that throw a little bit better. So it kind of feels like, and let's not forget, this is his second offensive system in as many years. I mean, what was the problem with Marcus Mariota? He had a different coordinator every year in his career. And, at a certain point, you've got to stop. You got to give a quarterback, give an offense some continuity. They made a choice this offseason to go for Mike Vrabel and try to, bring in an offensive-minded coach. But it's a guy who's been an offensive coordinator for 5 years, but he never called plays in Cincinnati. So there's been a growth curve for him. The first month after each game, it's like, well, I need to get the ball more to Tyjae Spears, DeAndre Hopkins, Ridley. I mean, it's been a different player. So, he's been growing on the job. Will Levis has been growing in this new system, and the offensive line's trying to come together. Peter Skoronski is, Lloyd Cushenberry was one of those free agent signees. Skoronski, second year. J.C. Latham, the 7th pick overall out of Alabama. There are a lot of moving pieces to this puzzle, and it's not soup yet.
The offensive line ranks 30th in the league in sack rate, 22nd in pressure rate per drop back. And you mentioned the interception. If Levis doesn't stare that guy down for 6 seconds, maybe the safety can't rotate across the field to get there.
He did telegraph that one just a bit, didn't he? I mean, I might have been able to run out there, and I can't run and get that. And Ridley said that he was aware of the defender that was on him. He didn't see the safety. He was looking up for the ball. And so that, there's got to be some awareness on his end as well, in case he needs to play defense. So, it's you can spread some blame around a lot of places here. But yes, the second-year quarterback, when he sees that, he's got to take advantage of it. And, that's why you're a quarterback in the NFL. I mean, Callahan said it after one of the early games. He's an adult. He can take some of the criticism. And so I got to, now the feeling, I'm just curious to see where this season goes from here with the trade deadline coming up. What does this team choose to do? And Brian Callahan was asked about this on Monday, and he's like, he's leaving those talks to the front office, Rand and those guys. And, but at a certain point, they're going to have to decide, do we pull the plug on this and try to start stacking up some draft picks for next year, for next April, because, we need to fill in a few more places. That's the problem. This team is still the tab from the botched picks of the John Robinson era are still being paid by this franchise.
Yeah, and Teresa, that was what I was going to kind of walk into, is at what point we've got the Bills this week. You're looking at a really, really impressive Lions team the following week on the road. At what point in your mind do things change dramatically in the locker room and obviously potentially in terms of moves with the front office?
Well, I think it's going to be the game after the Patriots. If I'm remembering the schedule, I think that's the game where they go to Houston, and they still have 5 division games left. So there's still some time to dig out of this. This is a long season. I mean, remember after 2 weeks, people were looking at Derek Carr and the Saints thinking, wow, they've got something going. And especially after last night, it's almost like, let's fire Dennis Allen right now. And what in the world is going on down there? And, Spencer Rattler, I know there's probably some Tennessee Vol fans thinking there's some karma for that. I don't even know what that attempted pass was that ended up, just bouncing the other way into the hands of a defender. So, that's the thing. It's a long NFL season. If you can split out of this road swing, then that gives you some hope. You come home on November 3rd, you're playing the Patriots, who right now at 1-5, they're playing the Jaguars in London on Sunday. They're as desperate or maybe worse than you are, with a first-year head coach trying to figure out who their quarterback is as well. It's almost like looking in a mirror for these franchises. Mm-hmm. But you go to Houston, you should by then have an idea.
Stop. Between the Patriots and Houston, you go to the Chargers, and Minnesota comes here.
Oops. Okay. Then you're gonna know by that. Let's put it this way: after the Patriots game, go to Chargers. This next month is crucial. But let's be honest, this 2-game road swing probably does set a lot of tenor for what's going on because of the trade deadline. It feels like that in the mirror, the objects are closer than they appear. Right now, that's where the Titans are because, again, show me something on Sunday in Buffalo. Show me something at Detroit. At least show that you can, score more than 17 points with Will Levis as your starting quarterback. Show that you can quit committing penalties. Denard Wilson said that he didn't have too much problems with some of the post-snap penalties because, sometimes crews are, I'm adding this, sometimes crews are calling stuff that other crews don't call, right? So, maybe the illegal contact doesn't get called on Jarvis Brownlee and you do get that pick with another crew. But the fact of the matter is they've got to start showing that they know which way is up. And this 2-game road swing, I do think is crucial because you come back and if you do kick the Patriots and you're suddenly 2-6, what does that do for you? Not a lot, because then you've got to go to the Chargers and then you're coming back against Minnesota, hoping that maybe they've come back to earth. But the NFC North is the best division in football right now.
If Will Levis is questionable on Friday, maybe that injury does not show a whole lot of improvement between now and game time. Wink, wink. And you go with Mason Rudolph.
And what we saw when Mason Rudolph came into the game in Miami was a more conservative game. We know the forecast is for a gusty day on Sunday in Orchard Park. And so maybe you're running the ball a lot. And Tony Pollard finally gets a chance to, he was this close to his first 100-yard game since September of last year with Dallas. So maybe you go that way. And we've seen Mason Rudolph can execute those short passes and find the open guy. And yes, I've seen the people saying, well, we need to go to Mason Rudolph. Guys, you invested a 33rd pick overall in Will Levis. You do have to see what you've got in him, because guess what? Mason Rudolph is with his second team for a reason. And I'm sorry, but for all the reclamation stories that are out there for quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield being example one, that road doesn't always happen. Okay. You have to see what you got in Will Levis. So, but to buy yourself some breathing room, if Will Levis is watching and learning a little bit more and seeing how they want him to execute, maybe that does help him a little bit.
Never a dull moment out at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, or in this case, in Orchard Park. Again, 12 o'clock kickoff. You can see it on CBS as the Titans travel to Buffalo this weekend. TERESA Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. TERESA, as always, it's a pleasure, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
Hopefully we can talk about some wins soon. I mean, it's like after the last 3 seasons, I know Titans fans are certainly thinking, aren't we due?
Let's start with a win.
A win, I know. Same with the
Before we
Preds.
talk about some wins. Yes, yeah, that too.
Going on the road, so maybe they're due for a win. Haven't won at home, but a chance for number 2 on the road again.
Yeah,
versus an AFC East team.
And the bad part, they are selling tickets to the new stadium. That's the biggest reason why they need to be more competitive. That's the issue. Ding,
Absolutely.
ding, ding. Not making the salesman's jobs any easier.
TERESA, thanks. We'll talk to you.
Bye, guys.
All right. Hey, when we continue here on Main Street Sports Today, we'll talk a little baseball. Again, the American League Championship Series got crazy yesterday. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back from this break.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Weekend Update continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely, coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes and talking a little Major League Baseball postseason style. The Yankees picked up a couple of wins to open the American League Championship Series at Yankee Stadium. They then traveled to Cleveland, and things got a little wild. Cleveland takes an early lead. Judge hits a 2-run homer to tie it, and then Giancarlo Stanton follows with a solo home run back-to-back, putting the Yankees up 4-3 late, or 5-3 late, maybe. It was 5-3 at one point. And then the guy they call Big Christmas, that's a fantastic name, Jhonkensy Noel homers to tie the game at 5-5 in the ninth, and David Fry in the 10th hits a 2-run homer to walk it off as the Guardians got out with a 7-5 victory in 10 innings. And it's a shame that it wasn't on Wednesday because it was pretty wild and wacky.
Bonkers game. You said it best. Cleveland gets out to a fast start. They're up 3-0. They're kind of cruising. Turn it over to the bullpen. And then things kind of fell apart in a quick way with Judge going long. Stanton hits a bomb. And then everybody is kind of stunned in Cleveland.
Because their bullpen had been straight up lights out, man, throughout the postseason until it wasn't. And
everybody's, saying prayers and, clinging to hope. And on the final out, Big Christmas gets in there. Absolute mammoth shot, electric backflip. I mean, it was everything you want and then some. Bonkers deal. And that was kind of just the precursor for what happens in the 10th with the walk-off there from Fry, taking Holmes out of the park and giving Cleveland I'm not going to say a faint heartbeat. They got a little bit more of a heartbeat. They're still alive in this series. And then we'll see what happens tonight, because that is a result that could, we'll find out more about the Yankees tonight, because that's a result that could produce a lot of momentum for Cleveland, you would think.
It absolutely could. Nobody happier with a loss than Terry McCormick, though.
Yeah, how about that?
Terry's going to get his game 5. You got to hope, though, that, like you said, it's not suddenly tied up going into that game 5 if you are the Yankees or a Yankee fan. So, things got interesting real quick yesterday in that one. Things are interesting for the Mets as well. 8-0 in game 1, 9-0 in game 3, and 10-2 yesterday?
Yeah, they have not lost a close game yet. They've gotten smacked, and everybody was rolling last night for the Dodgers. Ohtani with the solo shot, Betts with a massive home run. The Mets had some momentum early. Grimace was smiling, having a big time, and then it was a sad Grimace yet again, because the Dodgers are kind of just proving as resilient as these Mets have been, kind of especially in the second half of the season, that magic may have fizzled out on them, I'm afraid.
You know who wasn't rolling for the Dodgers? Freddie Freeman. The Dodgers really got away with one yesterday, because Freeman injured that ankle late in the regular season, was it? Or during the postseason? He's got a right ankle that is really giving him some problems. And they rolled the dice and sat him yesterday, moving Max Muncy over to first base. Kike Hernandez coming in from center field to third, and Andy Pages taking over the center field spot, and, got the win with Freeman in the dugout. Kind of the best of both worlds, in that they were able to get him off his feet and maybe get him some treatment and get him back in the lineup. We'll see if he goes tonight or not. But again, they really came up aces in that move, sitting Freeman and getting the win to go to 3-1 in this series and set up a potential closeout game tonight.
Yeah, this will be interesting, right? Because the Mets had a chance after getting game 2 back. You think they may be going back home. Severino had a great first inning the other night, and then things fell apart in the second. And now all of a sudden you got Ohtani hitting leadoff dongs. I mean, everything that can go wrong for the Mets is kind of going wrong right now. And they have got a real gut check situation here, trailing 3-1.
Big time. So we'll
hey, real quick, I also wanted to mention, we were talking about noted super fans. The internet is undefeated, and as big as Terry McCormick is a fan, the internet's coming for Travis Kelce because they showed him at the game the other night, and he's right there from the heart of Cleveland Heights guy, and they panned to him, and he's not rocking any Cleveland gear. Oh. He tries to put the rumors to rest. He said, "Hey, I'm born into this. I've been a lifelong fan." But then people are digging up tweets from 2010 where he's saying shout out to the Yankees for a good win. So it's got some explaining to do, does Mr. Kelce, there's pictures of him and brother, courtside at the Cavs game. So, I mean, he's saying he's a big Cleveland guy, but he didn't wear the Guardians gear the other night.
How do you not? I mean, what, I just forgot to pack any? What? How does that work? If you're going to a playoff game.
He's kind of a superstar now, so maybe Taylor had a different outfit prepared for him. But he's got some questions. He was in muted colors, and you would think, when Soto hit the home run on Monday night, the clip kind of looks like Kelsey's not really cheering, but he's kind of almost cheering. So I don't know. There's some identity crisis going on with his fandom at the moment.
That's not good. That's not a good place to be at all. Did you see after he tweeted all of his defense of his Guardian fanship, what Mahomes tweeted?
I miss Mahomes.
He came in behind it and said, "Go Royals."
Hey, well, it's company man. That's he's the mayor of Kansas City, so that's a savvy move there from Patrick.
Without a question. Hey, the Padres batting champion Luis Arias underwent thumb surgery yesterday. This guy won a batting championship with a torn ligament in his left thumb. Supposed to be out about 8 weeks before he starts his off-season hitting program and should be at full strength by the start of spring training. Apparently, this was an injury that existed as far back as the All-Star game because he didn't play in the All-Star game because of said thumb injury. Hit 314, which was the lowest batting average to win a National League title since Tony Gwynn did so back in the mid-90s, I think. But he hit 314 to win the National League batting championship, became the first player since the 1800s to earn batting championships with 3 different teams. Won it in 23 last year with the Marlins and in 22 with the Twins. So Arias recovering from thumb surgery, but should be back in plenty of time for the 2025 campaign. Hour number 1 of the weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. When we return to the Lee Company studios after this break, we will get hour number 2 going as we dip into the grab bag. Stay tuned after this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Weekend Update continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Welcome into hour number 2 of the show as we dip into the grab bag. We talked a little bit with TERESA Walker a little bit ago regarding this Denver-New Orleans matchup from last night as the Broncos win 33-10. Saints did not look very good, have not looked very good since the second week of the season. And in falling to 2-5, the Saints become only the second team in NFL history. And it's amazing to me that people keep up with this. But the Saints are the second team to open the season 2-0 with 20-point victories in each of those first 2 games and then lose their next 5. The only other team to ever do that is the 1965 Dallas Cowboys, who defeated the Giants 31-2 and the Cowboys 27-7 before losing 5 straight. Now, after that, the Cowboys mirrored that by going 5-2 over the final 7 weeks to finish 7-7 back when they played a 14-game schedule. I don't know that the Saints are going to win 5 of their next 7. I don't know what their schedule is, but they don't look like that to me. They started the year with a 47-10 win over the Panthers. Defeated the Cowboys.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, exactly. Beat the Cowboys 44-19. That's the 3-3 Cowboys who, well, we already talked about what they did this past week. Since then, New Orleans has lost to Philadelphia, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and again the Broncos last night. And they have got injuries for days. Derek Carr is out. That's why you saw Spencer Rattler. That's also why you saw Jake Hayner late in the game, who engineered their only touchdown drive. They've got receivers out. Rashid Shaheed is out for the year with a knee. Chris Olave is out. Cesar Ruiz is out. Their Swiss Army knife Taysom Hill is out right now. So again, not a whole lot of faith in them replicating the Cowboys 5-2 second half right there. And with that being the case, you know, we talked earlier this week, Wade, about whether Doug Peterson was going to make it. If it's, you know, if Doug Peterson isn't the next coach fired in the National Football League, perhaps it's Dennis Allen.
You know, if not for that fast start, I think a lot of folks would have said Dennis Allen would have been on the short list to maybe get canned, if not during the season, but certainly by the end of the year. Got a lot of things going against him, man. He's just so nondescript, and he's got 2 first names. I mean, he just does not really kind of give you head coach vibes, which is hard to describe, but
it's one of those things that you know it when you see it, right?
Yeah, and it just does not feel like a great fit there. And then lo and behold, they go out and, like you said, they did beat the Panthers, but put up 47 points, beat the Cowboys, which, you know, you can, depending on which week you catch the Cowboys, could be a good win or could be a non-starter in terms of a win. But they were 2-0, and then they lost 2 crazy close games, losing to the Eagles and the Falcons by a combined 5 or 6 or 7 points rather. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting with them. And then, yeah, the injury bug. Without Olave, their offense is really, really tough. I think even if Rattler was the quarterback, if you had Olave, if you had Shaheed in there, that's their 2 top targets on the team. It makes it tough. And, you know, unfortunately, I did subject myself to watching more of this game than I anticipated last night. And it was pretty bad. Denver is not great by any means. All they mustered up was, you know, a couple of touchdowns from Javonte Williams, and then got a defensive touchdown. They also had 1 defensive touchdown early in the game that got called back due to penalty. But yeah, New Orleans looks pretty bad. New Orleans looks pretty grim. Denver's not great. Denver's not really bad. Bo Nix had 75 yards rushing last night. They did a great job of getting him into space. And yeah, it's kind of tough to make a real decision because, man, they were trotting out Mason Tipton, who I'm sure everybody's familiar with. Bub Means. Who did play for a year at Tennessee, but ends up transferring to a couple different schools and then gets drafted out of Pitt. But, I mean, those were the guys that Rattler is having to throw to. And it was a tough night. Kamara finishes with 10 yards. He had like 6 carries for 4 yards at one point in that game. It was just an ugly, ugly game. Like I said, this was the Thursday night football that I grew up on, and the Thursday night football that the real sickos love. You know, the last 2 weeks we've been subjected to some great games. I don't want that. I want these ugly, putrid games on my Thursday nights.
Mission accomplished. Sean Payton goes back to New Orleans, gets to enjoy a victory lap there at the Saints' expense, and becomes the 7th coach in league history to record victories over all 32 teams, which, as he pointed out, that means you got to coach in more than one place. But he had beaten 31 of the 32 while he was with the Saints over 15 seasons. After stepping out at the end of the 2021 season, came back last year with the Broncos. Broncos and Saints didn't play last year, but he took advantage of his first opportunity to beat the Saints and, again, become the 7th coach in NFL history to defeat all 32 teams. Belichick, Dungy, John Fox, who I never would have guessed because I just never would have pulled his name up. Bill Parcells, Mike Shanahan, Andy Reid, and this CBS Sports list includes Mike Holmgren on this list. Holmgren only beat 31 teams in the regular season, but he beat Washington in the playoffs, who he did not beat during the regular season. So they are including him with an asterisk. Peyton and Reed are the only active coaches to achieve this interesting feat. But yeah, so congratulations to Peyton. I guess it's kind of a sign of longevity and, kind of staying power, because again, you got to do it in more than one place to beat everybody, which means you got hired a second time. So
yeah, he's had some good runs. Obviously, a fantastic run in New Orleans. Some ups and some downs along the way, but got it done there. And this will be interesting to see what happens, because the Broncos are just staying afloat, They still got the Chargers and then the Chiefs ahead of them in the standings, but they kind of continue to win games. They're winning every game ugly. That was their season, one shy of their season high in terms of points. They do get the Panthers next week, but then they have at Ravens, at Chiefs, and then Falcons at home. So we'll see kind of where the Broncos really kind of fall in this pecking order, I think, over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Pro Football Hall of Fame Selection Committee announced its contributor semifinalists for the 2025 class earlier this week. They have narrowed that list down to 25. Among them is longtime Houston Oilers / Tennessee Oilers / Tennessee Titans owner Bud Adams. Commentators Chris Berman and Howard Cosell. John Facenda, the original voice of NFL films. Patriots owner Robert Kraft. Art Modell. I'm sure Cleveland fans are having a tough time with that one.
Yep.
Legendary Grambling coach Eddie Robinson. Amy Trask, who was a key member of the Raiders front office, CEO from 1997 to 2013. And interesting in the contributor category, Doug Williams. Led Tampa Bay to the 1979 NFC title game in his second season out of Grambling. Was named Super Bowl MVP in 1987 when he led Washington to a 42-10 win over Denver and became the first black starting quarterback to win a Super Bowl. And that second quarter blitz where he threw for 5 touchdowns was still something to watch. But it's interesting to me that he's being considered as a contributor and not as a player. But that's an intriguing hair splitting there, I guess. But I guess if you get in, you don't really care how you get in, and it's great that he is being considered. Again, they have narrowed their list down from 47 to 25. They will further reduce that list to one finalist for induction in Canton next summer. So good luck to all of those, because out of that 25, you're going to get one.
Oh yeah, that's I hate to be on that committee because there's a lot of key names and contributors.
I don't know how you eliminate 24 of those folks. I mean, if you look at the full list, there's a number of folks that you could say, I could do without that guy. But at some point, you're not going to get down to one immediately. I mean, there's going to be some real there's going to be some fights, I would think, trying to get down to one on that list. So I don't envy them at all. We heard a few weeks ago about former Florida receiver Ricky Pearsall getting shot. The 49ers rookie receiver, apparently he has recovered to the point that he is expected to be up for their game this weekend against Kansas City. If you shot me, I might never play football again. But it's not even been 2 months since this occurred. August 31st was when he was shot in an attempted robbery in San Francisco. But I guess it helps to be 24 years old and there was no vital damage done. So
good to see him bounce back. You know, he's been on the sidelines and wearing the Rolex. I mean, now that is a big flex when you get jacked for your Rolex.
Yeah.
And you're wearing it on the sideline. And we saw Brian Robinson, you know, he came out last year and Washington just blew the roof off the place. They had the remix to Mini Men that he comes out to. I mean, I don't know that Pearsall, not being a starter, will get quite that ovation, but you imagine that, yeah, it's going to be pretty electric the first time that he runs out of the tunnel for sure. But yeah, epic flex wearing the Rollie on the sidelines.
And I think it's I don't think he's just playing for show either. They've had some injuries, not just with CMC, but they've had some injuries in the receiver core. They kind of need Pearsall.
Yeah, a chance to see what he can do because, you know, obviously they've been set back in that regard. But, yeah, kind of thrust into duty. And he's listed as kind of he's listed as a third wideout option behind Debo and Conley. But, yeah, it could be a deal where he with Debo and Jennings both questionable this week, it could be a deal where they need him to step up and maybe contribute a little bit.
Absolutely. We mentioned during the rundown game 4 of the WNBA finals tonight as the Liberty plays at Minnesota, looking to close out that best-of-5 series tonight. Scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do, a fourth WNBA coach is suddenly without job. Latricia Trammell of the Dallas Wings was dismissed earlier today after 2 seasons. They went 22-18 and were second in the Western Conference in her first season. They were 9-31 this past season, missed the playoffs, lost 9 of their last 10, and have decided to go in another direction as a result. So, again, Latricia Trammell out in Dallas. She becomes the 4th coach to be fired since the end of the WNBA regular season, joining Kurt Miller with the LA Sparks, TERESA Witherspoon of the Chicago Sky, and Tanisha Wright with the Atlanta Dream. So it's definitely a what have you done for me lately type situation in the WNBA as well. And I wonder, you know, if some of these other teams decide to make moves because they see somebody better out there, or they feel like they can upgrade, or if it's just, you know, we can't continue to go down this road. I wonder what the motivation is, especially as far removed from the end of the regular season as you are in the case of the Wings.
Yeah, it does feel like, you know, there's always that continual testing of the waters. And with Trammell in particular, kind of makes a little more sense. Their GM just left as well. Amber Cox is going to join the Fever up in Indiana. But this is also wild. Since coming to Dallas in 2016, this is now going to be their 5th different coach. So coaches have not stayed long in Dallas over the years as they get ready to make another move, both at the GM position and the head coaching spot.
And I wonder, with the GM leaving, I wonder if that's the motivation. We're going to hire a new GM. We're going to let them hire their coach and, you know, try to kind of get in lockstep there. I wonder if that's the thought process.
That was my initial thought is, yeah, this league is so small in terms of number of franchises. Therefore, presumably there are, you know, some better candidates per se. Everybody's kind of always, keeping up with the Joneses in that regard. And then the fact you have a new GM coming in, it seems like the GM does play a much more pivotal role in a league where franchises are few in terms of numbers.
Yeah. We mentioned yesterday that Virginia men's basketball coach Tony Bennett was retiring immediately. Held a press conference on campus in Charlottesville this morning with Virginia athletics director and former Vanderbilt athletics administrator Carla Williams at his side. And I realize I'm no longer the best coach to lead this program in this current environment, was his comment, among others. But that was the one that kind of stuck out to me because, I've said on more than one occasion on this show, I'm all for players. I'm for the student athletes, and maybe student athlete isn't as applicable now, but I'm all for them, getting paid. I'm all for them having freedom of movement. And when coaches make these comments, I just don't think it's a great look. And maybe I'm gonna make some coaches mad. I don't know, but it just feels like when everything was tilted toward the coaches and the schools, everything was fine. And now that the players have some level of recourse, maybe suddenly it's an issue, and I can't coach under these conditions. And it's just odd to me. I don't think I'm equipped in this new way to coach, and it's a disservice if you keep doing that. I'm very sure that this is the right step. I wish I could have gone longer. I really do, but it's time. Because the players have some level of, I don't know, rights maybe that they didn't have before. All of a sudden, this is an untenable situation to coach in.
Yeah, seems interesting, right? And we talked on the show yesterday when this news broke down. I mean, it's not our buddy Bomani Jones kind of put it this way. It's not the triple option, but it's kind of the triple option that they run. And that system is so unique, and it's so predicated on presumably the buy-in from the players. And if you're having to recruit that every single year internally as well as externally, that probably does make it a little more challenging if you're coaching in a system like that where only certain players fit the certain mold. And if you lose one, or you think you may have one and they don't arrive, I could see where that would weigh on you a little more. He also obviously, you got the element of, is this a move where maybe now he gets to tab his guy, and this was his way to do that? He's not the first coach, props to him for at least, I suppose, coming out and saying it. We've seen some folks, looking at you, Tom Izzo, who every year kind of bloviates about this and then still manages to come back and collect a check, but despite the fact he's complaining about it every year. So, props to Bennett for at least, saying what he feels and citing that in his reason, because he didn't have to necessarily offer that to us.
Ron Sanchez, a Virginia assistant, has been named interim coach for the upcoming season. There will be a national search for a permanent coach. So yeah, his guy, one of the guys that's been on the bench with him, will take over the Cavaliers for the upcoming season. 364 and 136 in 15 seasons at Virginia after beginning his head coaching career at Washington State, going 69 and 33 over 3 seasons, including a loss to Vanderbilt in the second round, I believe, of the 2008 NCAAs. Shane Foster, Derek Byers, Alex Gordon, fantastic team. Should have been in the Elite Eight.
I won a lot of money on that Georgetown game.
Jeff Green walked.
Money talks, though, but I understand your plight there.
Jeff Green walked. period. But yeah, Derek Byers had a block in that Washington State game. Go look it up on YouTube. Look up Derek Byers and Washington State. It was one of the most fantastic defensive plays I've ever seen in person out at Sacramento. Anyway,
and interesting thing too, you mentioned national search. I think the interim is the move, obviously, considering the season starts in like 2 weeks. But this is a chance now, if it's not a deal where this is his guy that kind of gets tabbed and they keep that, grinded out system in place.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of got to wonder who are some candidates that might go out there, because if they do open it up to kind of a nationwide search, this could be a fun hiring process for UVA.
Absolutely. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we'll be joined by GoVols 24/7's Ben McKee as we talk a little Alabama UT. Stay tuned after the break.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Weekend Update continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we are joined now by Ben McKee of GoVols 24/7 to talk a little Alabama UT. And judging by the lid, Ben might not be in the greatest mood today. Ben, how are we?
I'm doing better now that we're approaching first pitch of game 4. I was down in the dumps last night, but a quick turnaround. So I've had to exit my depression as quickly as possible and get ready for tonight. A big game, obviously, but also pretty easy to get back up this morning when you've got the third Saturday in October about to be played inside of Neyland Stadium on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the best of both worlds. You've got the third Saturday in October, and you don't have to drive.
Yes, I don't have to drive too far, at least just about 15, 17 minutes to my parking garage and a nice little 10-minute walk across campus, and I'll be ready to go there in the press box. I'm interested to see how the game plays out Saturday. I don't think really either fan base feels too confident in their chances this weekend.
I think you're right. I mean, we talked to Matt Stahl of AL.com yesterday, and, you know, given Alabama's last 3 performances, I'm not sure that they've got much reason to be confident. You know, given Tennessee's last 2 performances, I'm not sure they've got much reason to be confident. So it's kind of a matter of who bounces back better, quicker, and for longer, I guess, tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of the way I've been thinking about it this week, because it's strength on strength and weakness on weakness, with Alabama's offense going up against Tennessee's defense, and then Tennessee's offense going up against Alabama's defense. That the two strengths of each other's team is going up against each other, and same for the weaknesses. So which strength gets the better of the other one? Does Tennessee's defensive front continue to wreak havoc the way that it has? Does it continue to generate the push that it has? I think this is a very important football game for Tennessee's secondary, especially at the corner position. Everybody is talking about Ryan Williams, who is 17 years old, in case you did not know.
I heard that.
I did as well. And Jeff Kent's son plays college baseball at Texas A&M as well. So everybody's talking about Ryan Williams, rightfully so. He's the best receiver in the league in the SEC. So it's going to be a huge game for Jamal McCoy and Ricky Gibson, who had great games last week. But Alabama has more receivers than just Ryan Williams. They have the Washington transfer. They're getting healthier at that position as well. So Tennessee's corners going to have to replicate last weekend's success against the Gators. They're going to have a big day. But also, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Boo Carter in this game at that nickel spot in helping corral the Alabama receivers. He played his best game of the season in his short career last week against Florida. He was phenomenal. He did not look like a true freshman in his first rivalry game, and won SEC Freshman of the Week as a result. Those guys are going to have to be just as impactful as Tennessee's defensive front. And kind of odd that I start talking about the passing game when you have to deal with Jalen Milroe's legs. And I don't think Jam Miller, Alabama's running back, is discussed enough. I think he's overlooked. I think he's plenty capable of beating you. So does Tennessee's defense continue to be as disruptive as it has been, or does Alabama continue to really live off of Milroe's playmaking ability, Ryan Williams' playmaking ability? Something that I do think is fascinating within that matchup is when Alabama's offense has struggled this season or hit a bump in the road, it's been because of lack of consistency amongst its offensive line and the inability to generate a push consistently, which is what Tennessee has been able to do consistently at a high level with its defensive front. And Milroe has a heck of an arm. I do think he's gotten better at those short to intermediate throws this season, but that's still a weakness of his game. So if Alabama's offensive line doesn't come out ready to play football and Tennessee's getting pressure on Milroe, how does he look in terms of his decision-making? How does he look with those intermediate passes with pressure in his face? That is something I'm curious to see how it plays out. And then which of the weaknesses is going to play better? Does Alabama's defense finally wake up? Because talking about the line of scrimmage, Vanderbilt whipped up on Alabama because of how they pushed them around in the trenches defensively. The linebackers have been very confused this season for Alabama. Malachi Moore's throwing temper tantrums left and right and complaining about Kane Womack not getting the play call in quick enough. And Alabama secondary doesn't have the dudes that we're used to Nick Saban secondary having. So that should make you feel good if you're a Tennessee fan. But then you remember, well, Tennessee has not been able to generate a consistent push with its offensive line at the tackle position. Nico has missed a couple of throws lately. The receivers have dropped passes not run their routes with the proper detail in terms of depth in which they're running their routes and things of that nature. Dylan Sampson has been able to bust off some runs, but the running game has not had any. I don't believe it's had any real consistency to it from start to finish. It's been slow to get going, especially when you look at the last two games. I mean, it was basically non-existent the first half of each of the last two games. So, which of the strengths lives up to the strength, and which of the weaknesses is able to kind of buck the trend of how they've been playing of late? That's going to determine the game. I think it's a coin flip game, 50-50, and I kind of give the edge to Tennessee just because they're at home.
I think you've really characterized this matchup really well in a short period of time. And one of the things that kind of sticks out to me, Ben, is, watching that Alabama-South Carolina game last week. South Carolina was able to get home and get pressure on Milroe enough to really make that more of a game than anybody expected it to be, I think. And you feel like Tennessee in the front seven, at least, is better than South Carolina, right?
I would think so. Now, I have heard some discussions this week from the Cole Kublicks of the world, the Greg McElroys, like, this South Carolina defense is legit, and it probably doesn't get enough credit because they're not a great overall team. And South Carolina is not one of the more premier brands in the SEC, so they're a bit overlooked. Their freshman, his name is escaping me. He's probably the second best. He might be better than Ryan Williams. Him or Ryan Williams, was it DJ Stewart? I think it is. Those two guys are the two best freshmen in the SEC this season. So I think you got to split hairs to determine who is the better defensive line between South Carolina and Tennessee. But it's nothing against Tennessee. It's more of my opinion of South Carolina just being a bit overlooked and not having the proper respect because, again, I don't think they're a great overall team. They're like the only strength on the team. I like Lenore Sellers, but just not a lot of consistent play from him. But Tennessee's defensive front, it has to dominate. James Pierce Jr. Has to be James Pierce Jr. I do think that Tennessee has more tackle depth on the interior. Amari Thomas, Elijah Simmons, Bryson Eason, those guys, they need to move bodies around on the interior, and it's I don't know. Maybe you want to close in the pocket because you want to. Ideally, you'd like for them to push Milroe out of the pocket or push the quarterback out of the pocket, but Milroe is different in the sense of you also want to contain him in the pocket. So it'll be fascinating to try and see how Tennessee maintains their gaps or controls the gaps and kind of how they align themselves to make sure that they are disrupting the pocket but not allowing Milroe to get out of the pocket because that's when Milroe is at his best and able to use his legs. So Tennessee's defensive front, it has to be disruptive. That's the path to victory for Tennessee. It's got to feed off of the home field advantage, and they have to make life really tough on Milroe and try and contain his legs and potentially force him into a couple of bad decisions.
Ben, I wanted to ask you while we're talking defense, both this game and long term, how big is the loss of one of your top tacklers there in Keenan Peely?
Yeah, that's huge. It's devastating, quite frankly, for Tennessee that he is out for the year. From a leadership standpoint, he was right up there with anybody on the team in terms of most respected guys within the locker room. Everybody adores Keenan Peely. Older guy, been through a lot in his career, both at BYU and now at Tennessee for the second consecutive year. A lot of people looked up to him because he is the older guy. He's married. I think he's about to have a kid or does have a small kid. So that it's devastating on a lot of levels from the leadership standpoint, obviously, and then from a communication standpoint as well. He was the linchpin of the defense, and Arion Carter's been playing good football. I think there's a level of consistency that he can take a step forward in, and I think that will come with experience. And same for Jeremiah Thielander. I think he's been playing strong football, but just needs to do it more consistently as a young guy. And they need those guys to grow up quick, fast, and in a hurry. And it sounds like Thielander is going to be the green dot helmet in terms of communication, getting the play in. So that will be an adjustment. I'm sure Will Brooks over there at safety can probably chip in and help with communication and really locking down the back end of the defense. That's one of the reasons why he starts at safety. but then a playmaking ability as well. I think that's probably the most overlooked aspect of this loss is because Tennessee fans have not been able to watch Keenan a lot in his 2-year Tennessee career because of injuries. I don't think people realize how talented Keenan is, and we'll see what happens with the injuries. Maybe he decides, because he has had so many injuries, that he decides to shut it down and move on from football. But if he elected to rehab and continue to try and play, I mean, he's a guy that I think will make an NFL roster. And unfortunately, because of injury, you've not been able to see that. So from a leadership, communication, and just playmaking ability, it's a devastating loss. That was one of the positions where you could least afford to lose one of your main guys. And unfortunately, it hurt Tennessee. And they do have some young guys at that position. They still have bodies, but they're young and they need them to grow up quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm good.
I was just gonna ask you, Ben. You kind of summed it up a moment ago, but is this a game? Yeah, we'll know in the first couple drives if Tennessee is not getting that pressure and getting to Milroe. Is that game over in your mind automatically? I'm curious, really more of the secondary. Can those guys kind of hang on if they have to defend more than a couple seconds downfield?
I would tend to think yes. That's not a great sign and probably means that Tennessee is going to lose the football game. But Alabama secondary has given up explosive pass plays, explosive plays overall this season. I don't have any confidence in the offense right now. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I do. But although I don't have confidence, I do think that it is in the realm of possibility that they wake up out of their slumber or come up out of the grave like their Undertaker and start making some of these passes that we expect from Josh Heupel's offense. And again, I don't have a ton of confidence that it will happen, but it's not the craziest thought that Nico and the receivers connect on some of those deep balls that they were inches off on last week. And if you hit 2 of those, hit a third, and your defense isn't playing as well as it's played this year, then all of a sudden it turns into a shootout. I don't know that Tennessee can win in a shootout because I don't trust the offense to be consistent for 60 minutes in that regard. But if they can hit some of those splash plays that would have put Florida away or down big last week, then I do think you're looking at a different type of football game and can hang around and at least make it a 4-quarter game if the defense isn't playing like it has up until this point.
Ben McKee of GoVols 24/7 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Alabama travels to Neyland Stadium, taking on the University of Tennessee, matchup of number 7 and number 11, 2:30 on, what are we on? We're not
ABC.
on CBS. We're on ABC. There we go. I almost said CBS, but I knew it was wrong. Big time. Yeah. Ben, you talk about not having a whole lot of confidence in the offense at this point, and I expressed something to that effect during last week's Florida game and kind of got shouted down. Young quarterback, bad offensive line. And I mean, it did kind of make me kind of check myself a little bit. Is what Nico is or is not doing kind of a function of maybe the offensive line not being as consistent as it needs to be? And if so, is that fixable in a week?
I don't think it is within a week. I do think the offensive line is the major issue on this offense. I think it's the root of the offensive issues. I think it's hampering everybody. I think it's limiting Josh Heupel and Joey Halsley's creativity, play calling. Why are you going to ask Nico to drop back and throw the ball down the field, which require routes that take a moment to develop when your pass protection is not going to hold up? That's why you saw Heupel take his foot off the gas at Oklahoma, because you're putting the ball at risk. And Nico has fumbled the football a couple of times this year. So why put him in a position with long developing routes down the field to try and push the ball down the field when you don't trust your offensive line, particularly your tackles? So, and they're not the only issue. Again, we talked about the passing game. It's the receivers. It's Nico. He's missed some throws that he has to make. He's missed open receivers. He's made bad decisions, forcing it into double, triple coverage that have resulted in interceptions. So Nico needs to step up and play better as well. But I do think that I don't know that seeing ghosts is the right football term to use, but I do think that the offensive line is affecting his mental clock. And when there are clean pockets for him to step up in and deliver a good pass, because he's getting beaten up so much and typically does not have time to throw the football. When he does have time to throw the football, his mental clock is not allowing him to sit in there. He feels like he's got to rush, and that's led to some mistakes. So I do absolutely believe the offensive line is the main issue, although Nico does need to take a step forward. I still don't view the long-term potential of Nico any differently. I think if anything, it's been a reality check or a reminder that inexperienced first-year starting quarterback, we did hype him up too much over the offseason, and we did put too many expectations on him. It's unrealistic to think a first-time starting quarterback is going to win the Heisman, especially when they're in the first 2 years of college, right? So I think it's been a wake-up call for everybody evaluating him that he's still inexperienced. And look at all the top quarterbacks around the country. They have their growing pains, just like Nico is going through his growing pain. So he needs to step up. But I do think the offensive line is the root of the issue offensively. And I unless just the Monstars do the reverse and zap the offensive linemen and give them talents of NFL offensive linemen, like I don't see anything changing overnight. I mean, John Campbell has played better football throughout his career. I don't know that Javonte Spraggins is playing the best football of his career right now. So he could play better. Lance Hurd, a young guy, I think he's out of shape because he hasn't played a ton of football. Like I just don't see those type of things changing overnight. Tennessee needs it to desperately. Because that's going to determine how good of a season this ends up being. But just not a lot of confidence right now. There's just not a lot of options. And right now, that offensive line room, it's on the path to where when the offseason gets here, everything needs to be reevaluated in terms of who you're recruiting, what you're looking for in recruiting. And I realize I'm saying this as like David Sanders Jr. is coming in. I get it, but one guy's not going to save the offensive line issues. And even though David is probably going to be a true freshman starting at tackle next year, he's still going to be a true freshman. He will have growing pains as well. And next year's supposed to be the money year for Nico. And you don't want to waste Nico's time at Tennessee because you fumbled the offensive line situation. So in terms of who you're recruiting, how you're recruiting them, because up until like this last class, it was not good enough. And then the biggest issue is the development. They're not developing offensive linemen right now. Heupel has yet to have a high school signee at Tennessee. Him and Glenn Ellerby, the offensive line coach, they have yet to have a high school signee start a game for them that they sign, start a game for them at Tennessee. It's been all Jeremy Pruitt recruits or transfer portal guys. So that right now, the offensive line situation, it's on the path to where everything they are doing it's going to need to be reevaluated because that position is going to determine just how successful Josh Heupel is at Tennessee.
Nico is a talented enough runner that he could take some pressure off of this line, could he not?
Absolutely. That's been a hot topic this week at Tennessee and amongst fans and conversations amongst media folks like us. I've been asked that question quite a bit this week, and I think I understand why they haven't run him more. If Nico goes down, then your season goes down right away as well. So you have needed to protect him up until this point, but I believe a little bit of that goes out the window with this type of game. I think like you have to put all your eggs in this basket in this game. Tennessee won't be 100% eliminated from the college football playoffs if they lose tomorrow, but it will make life very difficult in terms of reaching the playoffs. So you have the playoff implications of this football game. It's a rivalry game. It's Alabama. Nothing else needs to be said about that. Fans are already frustrated with how the offense has looked this year, and you're looking for solutions offensively as well. And there's no doubt that Nico's legs can be a weapon and a potential solution. So they don't need to call 15 designed runs like they did against Iowa or whatever the number was. But I think they need to call some more. And like at the end of the day, it's football. you're trying to protect Nico, so I totally get it and agree with their philosophy up until this point. But because of the magnitude of the game, I think you kind of need to risk it for the biscuit this weekend. And like if he gets hurt, it's just tough luck. It's kind of part of football. But that is a aspect of the game that can help you win. And with the magnitude, with everything on the line, I think it's something that they absolutely need to implement in this game. Again, 15 to 20 design runs, absolutely not. Give the football to Dylan Sampson too, right? Like that guy needs the football on every play. But and I don't know the amount of design runs they're calling per game. Obviously, I would guess it's maybe 2 or 3 at most. I think they need to live in that 7 to 10 range. I think if they can live there, then Nico's legs can be very dangerous indeed.
Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Real quick, you're taking Tennessee strictly on the basis of being at home?
Yes, I am. If it were in Tuscaloosa, I'd pick Alabama, and I think the Neyland Stadium crowd is going to have a big say in this football game. You know those 100,000 people will do their job, even if you don't have confidence in Tennessee's offense. So that sounds real simplistic, but I think it's very evenly matched. I think both teams have red flags in terms of weaknesses. I also think they have some strengths that could help them win this football game. But it's really hard to win on the road in college football. It feels like harder to win on the road in college football now more than ever, and really in college athletics overall. We see it with basketball and baseball as well. So I think with this defense, I think between the defensive front and the Neyland Stadium crowd, it's going to make life tough on Jalen Milroe. Not that they'll shut him out, but I think that there will be a couple of plays that help decide the game in Tennessee's favor. I think Tennessee wins a close, ugly football game because it's inside of Neyland.
You got your cigar packed for Saturday, Ben?
No, I'll leave it at the house because I won't be able to smoke it in the press box. So that's get the work done, and then maybe enjoy it on Sunday evening after the work has been done.
Should I hear you? Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Ben, thank you so much for being with us, and I'm sure we'll be reaching out. Again, you'll be in our city next Friday for a little baseball as Tennessee and Western Kentucky will play over at First Horizon Park Friday night. That should be fun.
It will be fun. Literally this time next Friday, I should be pulling up, I imagine, to old First Horizon Park. It was a fun setting, fun atmosphere last year when Tennessee played Sanford. So I imagine it'll be the same when they play Western Kentucky. So really looking forward to that, and always appreciate y'all asking me to come on. I enjoy the conversation and hope y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you. I assume that the national championship trophy will be in tow Friday.
I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't think about that.
Happen.
Hashtag photo op, right? I mean,
yeah, they should. I don't know why they wouldn't. I'll check on that and shoot you a text and let you know. I do know the baseball team will be honored tomorrow afternoon during the game. Tomorrow they're honoring all the championship teams and obviously going to honor the baseball team. So that'll be fun. That will get the crowd going, and I'm sure Greg McElroy, who called Tony Vitello a classless WWE superstar figure, whatever the exact words, I'm paraphrasing there, but Greg McElroy was under fire over the summer for his words about Tony, and now he's calling the game in which Tony will be honored for winning the national championship. The irony there is pretty special, I think.
It is pretty thick. Will Hunter Ansley or will Tony V be leading the team through the T tomorrow?
If they were up, I don't think they'll be running through the T, obviously. But if they were in a fictional world, then in an alternate world, then knowing Tony, he'd be at the back of the line. He wants his guys at the front. Everybody, I think Tony said this week in an interview, they're expecting everybody on that championship team back in town except for like 2 guys are unable to make it. So Tony will have Christian Moore and Blake Burke and Hunter Ensley and all the guys in front. Tony likes to lead from the back.
There we go. Ben, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you, Ben.
We have got to race through these picks really quick, and I apologize in advance, but Wade, get us going.
Wonder Slate action. Mo and I, Mo went 6-4 last week. I went 3-7. I told you guys the half will make you laugh. I got hooked a couple games. But we go to the games, and we kick it off tonight. Mo, number 13, BYU is hosting OK State in a Big 12 showdown. BYU is favored by 9.5. Who are you taking?
I'm taking BYU.
I'm taking the Cougs as well. They've been kind of getting lucky. Oklahoma State is spry, but I think BYU gets it done. That brings us into Saturday. Missouri, still ranked. Missouri, number 19 in the country, is favored by 4, 11 a.m. kickoff versus Auburn on ESPN. Who do you like in this Battle of the Tigers?
The Battle of the Tigers. Give me Missouri. I just think that there's too much havoc going on in Auburn right now.
I'm picking Auburn only because the only resident super fan of Missouri I know, Mark Mize, has said, I'm not sure why everybody's picking Missouri to win this game. He likes Auburn. I'm trusting Mark Mize, and I will dance on his grave if Missouri ends up burning us on Monday. But I'm taking Auburn in this one on the road. Speaking of on the road, number 6 Miami is favored by 4.5 at Louisville, 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Oof. Give me Miami in this one.
I'm taking Miami as well. They've been, living dangerously in ACC play. The refs can't bail them out again, so they better hope that they cover. Don't leave anything to chance. I like the Canes to win this game, though. Also at 11 a.m., does the bell toll finally for Indiana? They're favored by 6.5 versus Nebraska.
I like Indiana. They're playing some good ball right now, and I'm not overwhelmed by Nebraska. Give me the Hoosiers right now.
Indiana and Army are the only two teams that have yet to trail this season. Texas fell behind 3-0 to Oklahoma, so that brought them to an end. I'm taking Nebraska just because I think this is a field goal game. And I don't know if Nebraska wins, but I think the Huskers are by far the toughest team that Indiana has played. We shall see how that pans out. Scooting along here, number 12 Notre Dame favored by 10 at Georgia Tech tomorrow.
I think Georgia Tech covers. I think Notre Dame wins.
Notre Dame does win. I think they cover as well. I want to go Georgia Tech, but they got some question marks at the quarterback position with injury. Notre Dame wins and keeps their playoff hopes alive and covers the 10, I think. That brings us into the 2:30 game on ABC. Alabama is favored by 3 at Tennessee tomorrow.
For the reasons we just discussed, I'm not sure that Tennessee's offensive line can keep Nico clean consistently enough and create enough push for Dillon. I'm taking Alabama to cover here, and it kills me to do so.
I'm taking Alabama as well. Don't throw anything at me, Tennessee fans. I'm on the border, so I can't win either way, but I'm taking Alabama to cover this game at 2:30 tomorrow. The 2:30 CBS game, does Michigan cover 3 on the road at Illinois tomorrow?
No, I think Illinois wins this one outright.
Yep, I'm taking Illinois. It's one of those deals I'm not going to believe it until I see it with the Wolverines. Give me Illinois, even though they had a very ugly win last week versus Purdue. That takes us into 3 o'clock now. Does Colorado cover a 2.5-point underdog role at Arizona? Arizona favored by 2.5.
I think Colorado wins this game outright.
I go back and forth on them. I'm taking Arizona. They got their pants pulled down last week, but prior to that, they were rolling. Colorado's been playing on a little bit of house money. I've taken Arizona to win this game and cover the 2.5. I think it'll be entertaining. That rolls us into LSU at Arkansas at 6 p.m. Can be seen on ESPN. LSU is favored by 3.
I think LSU's got some momentum coming out of coming out of that Ole Miss game last week. I think LSU gets it done.
I think LSU wins as well. As a buddy of mine said, LSU is bound to score more points than Tennessee did on the road at Arkansas. So that alone should probably lift LSU to the win and the cover. We're in agreement there. That leads us to our signature game. It is number 5 Georgia at number 1 Texas. We have the line at 4.5. It has risen a little bit in favor of Texas. But who do you like, Texas and Georgia, with the Longhorns favored by 4.5?
I like Texas by a touchdown.
I'm going back and forth on this game, and I land on Texas. It's flip a coin for me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're wrong. But, yeah, give me the Horns as well. 6:30 ABC kickoff tomorrow.
Those are your 10 Wonder Slate games. This is the weekend update. This is Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Join us back here Monday at 2 o'clock in the Lee Company studios. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Y'all have a great weekend.